Hey there, and welcome to the Calm Classroom. I'm Caylee, and I'm about to take you on a journey. Yes, a journey. Think of it as a fun little adventure. And when we get done here, you are going to be confident and ready for anything. Ready for anything. Because you're going to know exactly what you need to do to make your classroom a calm and happy place. I've been thinking about you specifically the entire time. What would be best for you? I've chosen my words very carefully because I know how busy you are. I made sure to put in everything you need without taking too much of your time. I made the lessons short so you don't feel like you're sitting there and it's just dragging on, and you can go at your own pace. Press play whenever you get a minute here or there. And you'll see my face right here on the screen because I'm going to walk you through and literally talk you through each step of the way. It won't be long before you're done and feeling confident and welcoming those observations that stressed you out so much before. Because when you can handle your kids, everything else is easy about today. Because you don't have to walk on eggshells. It doesn't have to be a constant bargaining battle. You don't have to feel like you're treading softly so you don't upset anyone or trigger a tantrum. Because you can't feel calm and peaceful if you're in that state of mind. There's no way. And I'm going to show you how to make it happen. There's a way to do it so that kids will just listen. You tell them to do something and they will just do it. You can only truly feel calm inside and out when you have that control. But here's the kicker. Once you're actually in control, meaning you finally know how to handle the behaviors or control the class, it turns into something different. It's like you don't need the control anymore because there are no battles. How to handle that kid. I tell all teachers that come to me about any kid doing any behavior. And no matter what the behavior is, we are going to start in the same place. So that makes it really easy. When those hard behaviors start and your mind goes blank, like it naturally does, you aren't going to freeze up and try to remember which thing was, what do I do when they get really crazy? What was the thing for that? It's just super simple. You're always going to start right here. They're figuring out the world by trying things. What happens if I say this? Maybe it's something they heard another kid say. Maybe it's a nice thing and they get a smile. Maybe it's a mean thing and they get in trouble. But they are constantly trying things out and adjusting what they do based on what happens and how people react. That's an interesting way to look at it, right? Like, that makes it sound way less problematic than it looks in our classroom, right? It sounds kind of nice when you say it like that. You wouldn't even know that we're talking about kids throwing chairs or fleeing the classroom. But when you see behaviors in this new way, you can start to take the emotion down a notch. Because it is very emotionally triggering when kids blow up or have these big emotions. It's impossible for your body not to react. It's just natural. Your heart rate starts going up, your hands might start shaking. There are a lot of natural things that are just going to happen. But when we can think about everything differently, we can stop ourselves from having such a big reaction. Especially when we know what to say and do to stop it from happening. Okay, welcome to phase 2. How to manage the behaviors. In this phase, you're going to learn about 2 behavior management structures that will be the core of your classroom system. These 2 systems are the main ones that you're going to use on a daily basis to guide your students' behavior. So this is how your students are going to know what's expected. That's an important part of supporting behaviors with children that are so young. For most of them, they haven't been in school before. They don't have a lot of prior experience in this type of setting. So it's our job to make sure that they know what they're supposed to do. That's why it's important to have systems in place that really make it clear to them what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing, with the obvious emphasis on what they should be doing. But it's also important to talk about behaviors that we don't want to see and the why behind those. These two parts are going to be the basis of everything for how you redirect kids who are misbehaving or off task, how you acknowledge every child in the class when they are on task and making good decisions, and everything in between. We're going to start here and go all the way to here. I developed a two-part system that initiates positive changes in behavior and doesn't cause kids to shut down when you want them to change their behavior. And it delivers constant feedback to make kids want to make good choices. It's easy to create and maintain throughout the year. And it's simple enough for kids to understand and be able to explain. Every kid in your classroom will be able to explain how this works, which is huge because it shows that they truly understand the rules. And this goes back to the why, making sure they know what's expected and why we do certain things and why we don't do certain things. There's a lot of classroom systems that are missing that piece. The kids having ownership of it. Families will be very impressed when their kids can explain to them how it works. Welcome to phase 3. In this phase, we're going to talk about more systems and routines that, once in place, are going to promote a calm environment and eliminate your stress. So here's a quick look at what we'll talk about in this next phase. First, the power of choices. So how to avoid a power struggle. And this will also help you be prepared when your kids tell you no, or argue, or ignore directions, which can all be so frustrating, but not anymore because you're going to love this one. Next, how to set the morning mood. And what that means is that you take the lead on setting the tone for how the classroom feels every single day as you welcome your students. You create the mood rather than leaving it up to chance. And strategic seating control. Okay, I'm getting excited about all these things. I'm finally getting to tell you all the things I have prepared. So strategic seating control, so fun. It's when you choose the seating or whatever placement is appropriate for what you're doing ahead of time to prevent unnecessary misbehavior opportunities. And then the importance of movement in your day and how starting off with the right movement can set your whole day up for success. Does that sound good? I hope so. Here we go. Phase 3. Phase 4. Look at us go. Can't believe we're here already. This is a lot of my favorite little strategies that make a huge difference in how your day will flow. By explicitly teaching children specific skills around manners and routines, they become independent and empowered. So we're going to break down complex ideas into simple action steps that kids can practice, and they're able to master big ideas like calming themselves down, being polite, using materials correctly. So a lot of behavior problems are coming from the simple fact that kids don't know what they're supposed to do. And you might think, but I've told them 100 times, or we already went over this. But I'm going to break it down for you in this phase, and you're going to know exactly what to do. So let's jump into phase 4. I'm going to show you how to teach specific skills. And these are skills you may never have even thought to take and break down into such simple steps. But once you do that, your kids can take ownership of them and they'll start doing them on their own. So the next strategy is called Breathe With Me. I brought in an old colleague of mine to talk about because this is her thing totally. She was a PE teacher at my last school, and then she published a book that is going to be one of your new favorite tools. But it wasn't until I learned about mindfulness from Brooke that I was able to take it and implement it in my day with my students. And we'll talk more about it, but you're able to learn about this from her, and she's turned it into the absolute easiest way to teach it to kids. So here is my conversation with Brooke about her resource to teach kids how to master their breathing. Do you have the book to show us?
I do. So the book started, it actually started, so we started doing breathing in the school, and the kids made up tons of breaths. And so it just kind of grew. And I thought, well, let's step one, step two, giving a physical diagram. So this
awesome.
helpful. And then the last one is strength. And so building that strength and that space where kids just feel like, oh, I can't do this, or this is tough. And
can you tell us a little bit specifically about what breathing does and how, I mean, we kind of all know a little bit, but just the specifics of like why this is so helpful and what breathing does to.
Well, there's a lot of data and research that providing that space to stop and breathe, it creates awareness. It creates the ability for kids that might have trauma to really slow down the way that their brain works. And so the more breaths they do throughout the day, it increases their ability to focus, their ability to self-regulate. It creates all of those connections with their peers too, because we're doing it in a group. I just think there's so many benefits to this.
And just this book is the easiest way to get kids to tune into that and like become on board with the mindfulness. I feel like before this, I tried different things and it was kind of always like, oh, they're just a little like away from it. It's hard for them to connect with it if we're just listen to your breath and whatever, but this like totally makes it's perfect for them.
Well, and it's playful, right? And I think there are some.
All right, we have made it to phase 5. I don't want to give everything away, but there's just phase 6, and then phase 7 is all just presents for you. Might come your way. As the year progresses, so do the behaviors, and it's important to have effective strategies that are going to work no matter what. And by utilizing a variety of effective and positive strategies, you'll be able to manage and adapt to the needs of your students. This section is going to give you a handful of great strategies that will help you manage behaviors no matter what the situation might be. If you're having trouble getting your kids to listen, I would like you to meet the dream team. Do you cringe when you have to walk your kids across the building because they have such a hard time walking in line? Are you saying a little prayer before you leave the classroom in hopes that no kids have meltdowns in the hall, or cross your fingers that it doesn't take 20 minutes to get to the lunchroom? Do you have some kids who benefit from sensory experiences? If you have not used smelly spots yet, you are in for a treat. Here's my calm spray. Just a tiny bottle. Smart spray. Friendship spray, nap time spray, and then there's a brilliant one that I'll tell you about at the end. Whispering. A big element of the calm classroom is keeping the noise under control. And one of my favorite ways to do that is to whisper. Do you have kids who are super impatient? Do you have kids who only think about themselves or have trouble empathizing and connecting with friends? Are there certain behaviors that you would like to improve on with your students, but you haven't found a fun way to make the behavior stick? Like using your own words instead of tattling? Are you looking for a way to motivate your students to work hard? Are there qualities that you want to teach your students, like being kind, being patient, being a good friend? Well, then you're going to love this strategy. So, uh-oh or oops. It's just part of the reality of being the adult in the room that the kids look to you to hold them accountable and to keep the peace in the room. But there's a fine line here. You don't want to bring too much attention to negative behavior, but you can't just carry on through your day acting like no one ever needs redirection. Kids want limits. They are trying things, but they want to know that when they or another student starts acting out, that the adults in the room are going to do something to keep the peace. And that's where this strategy comes in. Okay, phase 7, we've made it to the end. First, I'm going to give you the surprises. It's time. And then I have a special goodbye message for you. So